Hello, spiritual soul. Have you been trying to change your limiting beliefs, but it just seems so hard to do? Maybe you've listened to the experts and you've made an attempt to put into place what they say, but you still aren't getting the results that you really want. Well, today I'm going to share with you what on the physical level makes it so hard to change those beliefs so that you'll have maybe a little more stick-to-itness and not give up. And two, what you're doing on the inner plane, emotionally, mentally, that prevents you from changing those beliefs. I'm Deepa Lou, and I'm the Creative Mystic, and I've been on the spiritual path for over 30 years, and I'm always looking to gain deeper understanding of the spiritual truths and how to apply them in my life and in the lives of my mentoring and coaching clients. So let's get going to talk about first why physically you have challenges with changing those limiting beliefs. So what on the physical level makes it so hard for you to make the change of changing your limiting beliefs? Well, Yogananda, I don't know if any of you know Yogananda, he said that what happens is you get grooves in your brain. See, so you have a brain, here's your brain, okay? And what happens in the brain when you have some kind of belief that's going off, especially if you've had any kind of emotional trauma, there's some kind of stimulus that causes a reaction, right? And so your brain starts firing in a certain direction. And this direction, these are all the neural pathways that are going on. So different things happen and you get something fires off. Neural pathway fires off, okay? And what happens is if you have a certain belief, like let's say your belief is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, that starts to go off anytime something you mess up and you do something will fail. And then it just keeps going and something else happens where you do something that makes you feel not good enough, and it fires off again. Not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And what happens is you see me keep going around and around, right? Is that neural pathway, those firing of the neural pathways goes off so much that a groove actually happens inside your brain. It's like it just keeps going off and the same, and a groove. And you think about a groove, like if you had a ball rolling down a path in a groove, right? It's really hard to get it out. Well, that's what happens to your brain. Your brain starts to get these grooves that are going on inside of it from your neural pathways firing off in a certain direction over and over and over of the belief of like maybe I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. Or it could be a belief that you're not good at math. And so anytime you have to go do math, what happens? This exact thing. It fires off and goes, I'm not good in math, I'm not good in math. And so physically, in order to make the change, it's hard to do when you've got this groove in your brain, which are the neural pathways. It's the synapses firing off in that direction, and they get stronger and stronger because they've been firing in that direction so long. And that's why emotional trauma will create the most pervasive limiting beliefs that can be hard to change, because there's like a two-step process when you do that. You have to heal. And you may have gone through the healing. I've heard people say, I've gone through healing and I feel like I'm healed and I let it go and I've forgiven, I've done all the things they say, but yet I still see myself going in this certain habitual way of thinking. And that's what's going on. The groove in your brain has gotten so deep that it is hard to bump yourself out of it. And the way you have to change it is kind of a twofold method. We have to help you bump yourself out of the groove, number one, because without getting out of the groove, you're not going to believe something different. So, okay. But there's also some things you're doing internally that keep you in the groove. Okay. And I want to talk to you about that next, because when we get you to be aware of those things, then you start to realize, I'm in the groove, I'm in the limiting belief, and I can, bump myself out. So let's talk about that next, what you're doing inwardly on the mental, emotional level. So you have this belief system, you have this belief, and maybe the belief is, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math, right? And you know now that there's a groove in your brain that fires off in that direction. And you know, understand that. But what are you doing inwardly that keeps that belief, I'm not good at math, even harder to change? Is number one, attachments. You're thinking attachment to what? Attachment to that belief. That you go around and you tell everybody, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at math. When you get a math problem coming up to you, you think in your head, I'm not good at math. You're attached to that identity that you're not good at math. That attachment keeps and perpetuates the belief, because maybe there's a little part of you that can go, well, someone told me that, and yes, I didn't get good grades in math, but maybe it's not that I'm not good at math. Maybe it's the way people were teaching me that I wasn't able to learn it. Because it's the attachment to that you're not good at math because you identify as that. Your attachment is to that identity that you're a person that's not good at math. And so I want to give you an example. Like, I have heard this from other people that they're not good at math. And then I teach them a little trick on how to add up numbers quickly, and pretty soon they can do it. And so but they think they're not good at math, like adding and subtracting and things like that, because of the fact that they've been told that so long. So the attachment to the identity of what that belief is that keeps it staying firm in your belief, okay? And then the other one that's keeps you from changing those beliefs, the inner challenge, is resistance. Resistance. Okay, you're thinking resistance of what? You're resistant to receiving the new belief. Okay, you're resistant to that it can be different than it is. See, when new and different things come in, and that's why I talk about the subconscious mind all the time, how your resistance can come in because what? Your resistance means that you're in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind wants what? I've said this to you many times if you've watched my videos. Your subconscious mind wants sameness, security, safety. And what makes it feel safe and secure is sameness. So anytime you're in resistance, you're in your subconscious mind, and most people resist when there's change, unless it's change they chose to take, right? Have you watched your stuff? I've been at lots of companies and other places where when people bring in change, people are like, they don't like it. They quit their job sometimes and go get another job. They resist the something new when it's not something they've chose to do. And when you're wanting to change your beliefs, you need to catch yourself when you're in resistance and catch yourself when you're in attachments. You have to become highly aware of both of them. Because what changes the programming is first your level of awareness to realize that you're in your subconscious mind and that you're being attached to an identity, or that you're resisting something new that needs to come in. Okay, because you have to accept something new in order to change the belief. In order to change your belief, you have to let go of the old beliefs. You got to let it go. And then there's a gap. Remember I showed you your brain. There's a gap in your brain, but you got to not resist the new that's coming in. And that new might make you really uncomfortable because your subconscious mind wants sameness. Okay, wants safety, security, and what makes that feel safe and secure is having it to be the same. And so again, you have to let go of the attachments, so let go of the belief of that identity, and let go of the resistance. Stop resisting the new that's coming in. All right? So I want to talk to you about what you need to start doing to change those beliefs now that you're more aware of what's going on, of what you're doing, what happens physically, what you're doing inwardly that prevents you from changing them easily. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But if you've liked what you've heard so far, please subscribe. It all helps me, gives me a thumbs up. And if you know of somebody who would benefit from this, please be a blessing in the world and share it with them. Turn on your notifications. I would appreciate it. But let's get to what will actually help you change, okay? In order to make the change, you have to become aware. I've talked about that. I've talked about your attachments and resistance. You have to do that. Now, the way you change beliefs is one, by repetition. It takes repetition, doing it over and over and over, the new belief, the new self-concept, because we have to help you with the new self-concept, the new belief. So if you're someone who feels unworthy, the new self-concept would be that you feel unworthy, excuse me. The new self-concept would be, I am worthy. Okay, if you don't think you're good at math, the new self-concept would be, I'm excellent at math, okay? So you have to embrace that and start to do repetitions. It has to be repeated over and over. And why? Because physically, your brain needs that repetition to create new neural pathways. It won't get created. And that way, that other groove that was in there, remember I talked about the groove that was in there earlier, right? How deep it is? That will become less deep the less you fire off in that direction and you put your brain into another new groove, but a groove that's supporting you manifesting what you desire, okay? So you have to use repetition, and the more impactful experience you give yourself, the faster the groove will change. So you have to get experiences to make the change. It's repetition and experiences that change your brain, and you can change your beliefs. But you have to, the more impactful the experience is, the more it impacts you, the faster it will change. So I'd love to hear if you have any questions. I'd love for you to put down in the chat what your most pervasive belief is that you've been working on changing. And if for some reason you want some more support and you are looking for a spiritual success mentor coach, please feel free to take advantage of my next step connection call. It'll be in my show notes. It's deepaloo.com/gift. It's a complimentary connection call to see, are we a fit? Are you ready to really make this transformation so that you can begin to manifest and create a life you love? Have a miraculous day, and I'll see you in the next video. Blessings.